Okay, I'd like to call to order the Public Health and Community Service Committee meeting.
I did.
July 27, 2023 at 8:31. Can I get a roll call, please?
Hendricks. Ness. Jordan.
Here.
Okay.
Alta.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
This was my Alta.
Here.
Hamburger.
Here.
Do we have another copy of this?
I got it.
We're all set.
Yeah, there's some out in the hall.
Sorry.
Need some more coffee?
Okay.
Did we get that espresso machine?
Yeah.
Hey, I've been checking the prices out.
I didn't hear band off, but I'm here.
Oh, seriously?
Okay, so next we have minutes for
I make a motion to approve
for
the minutes as presented.
Ms. Althoff and Ms. Wagner seconds. Thank you. Are there any amendments or revisions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next we have public comment. Someone up there, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Breen,
Hi.
to join us at the table, please.
Good morning, Abby.
Good morning. Nice to know your faces. I'm here on behalf of the Break and the Youth Empower Alliance to deliver a prepared statement in support of increasing the levy for mental health services here in the county. I know I only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to read as quickly as possible. Good morning. I'm Stan. I'm actually sitting before you today to address a critical issue that demands our attention and immediate action: the state of mental health resources in our county. It is with great concern that I urge you to allocate additional funds for mental health services. The well-being of our community is at stake, and we have a responsibility to provide adequate support to those in need. Mental health is an integral aspect of overall well-being, impacting individuals, families, and communities alike. Sadly, we find ourselves in a situation where the demand for mental health services far exceeds the available resources. The consequences of this underfunding are severe and far-reaching, affecting the most vulnerable members of our society. First and foremost, our current mental health system is overburdened and struggling to meet the growing demand. Individuals in crisis are forced to wait excessively long periods for access to care, which can exacerbate their conditions and result in dire consequences. Our mental health professionals are stretched thin, facing very heavy caseloads and limited resources, making it nearly impossible for them to deliver the quality of care our community deserves. Moreover, the lack of adequate funding for mental health resources perpetuates a cycle of crisis and emergency-based care. When individuals cannot access timely preventative services, they often reach a point of crisis requiring costly emergency interventions. This not only places an immense strain on our healthcare system, but also puts a significant financial burden on our community as a whole. By increasing funding for mental health resources, we can break this cycle and invest in the well-being of our community. The benefits of such an investment are manifold. We will be able to improve access to mental health services, ensuring that individuals in need can receive timely and appropriate care. This, in turn, will lead to better outcomes, reduced hospitalizations, and an overall improvement in the quality of life for those struggling with mental health issues. Furthermore, increased funding will allow us to expand community-based mental health programs and initiatives. We can establish partnerships with local organizations, schools, and clinics to provide comprehensive mental health support. By investing in prevention and early intervention programs, we can identify and address mental health concerns before they escalate, saving both lives and resources in the long run. Lastly, let us not forget that mental health issues do not discriminate. They affect individuals of all ages, backgrounds, and socioeconomic statuses. By allocating more funds for mental health resources, we demonstrate our commitment to equity and inclusivity. We acknowledge that mental health is as vital as physical health, and that every member of our community deserves access to high-quality care and support. In conclusion, I implore you, esteemed members of the County Board, to recognize the urgent need for increased funding for mental health resources. By doing so, we will create a community that supports and uplifts its members in times of need. Let us be proactive, compassionate, and forward-thinking in addressing mental health issues. Our actions today will shape a healthier, more resilient, and inclusive community for generations to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
You did that pretty good.
Thank you.
Yes, very well. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Okay, next up, do we have any member comments?
Well, I have a question. I would like us to have a conversation about the line item transfer, if it's appropriate, supporting that from monies in the mental health budget, moving it from administration to direct service, which is what their resolution says. Because that, to me, from a public health perspective, is a very responsible thing to do, to put that money back into the budget to serve clients, rather than filling those admin positions that they're in. So I don't know if, do we put it under, where would I put that?
I don't know if we can talk about
We
that.
can't talk about it.
Yeah.
We can't talk about it at all?
No, it's not on the agenda.
Okay, so it, Scott?
Let me just add, so that, at the last county board meeting, that was tabled to the next county board meeting. So that
Okay,
discussion-
so we can't
At the
even
cow.
encourage, but we can as individual public health members.
You can make a comment supporting that.
Okay, thank you for, and I
I'm
want to
sure there'll
thank,
be lengthy discussion at the how about it.
okay. And I want to thank Andy for coming. I did get a tour of the break and I got to meet the two staffers, and it's a great place for kids to drop in and just be teenagers. So I'm really grateful that he shared a story with me about and I'll just tell the story because I was hoping you would tell the story about the potential school shooting that your staff was able to avert. One of their members came in and said his friend had made comments about bringing a gun to school and shooting his gun off in school. And the staff was able to intervene, call the appropriate authorities, get the kid some help that had made the comment, keep him out of the criminal justice system, back into the mental health system, which I really thought is a good example of how these places can really make a difference, even when they don't tell those stories themselves. But thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Ms. Webner?
So I'm following the mental health discussion. I was looking at the ISACO pamphlet or whatever we get every month. And there's one that talks, it's NACO and ISACO are very much in support of funding mental health services. So I don't know if you guys were able to read it, but it said the nation is facing an acute escalation of mental and behavioral health crisis. 75% of counties report an increase in incidence of behavioral health over last year. 2/3 of the counties reported that youth behavioral health conditions are definitely a problem or severe. So there's a lot in here, but what I'm getting at is that ISACO and NACO both support funding mental health. So I think we need to think about that, because I agree we need to increase the mental health board budget. Not sure how much, but I think we should, look at what our nation and our counties looking at.
It was a great article, I read it too, Holly. It was, very pointed. It's not just in McHenry County, it's a national
Right.
crisis.
Right.
Any other member comments? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to new business, and we have a few interviews this morning for the Senior Service Grant Commission. Yay. First up, we have John Pletz. Pletz. If you'd like to join us at the table and briefly tell us about yourself and your interest in the Grant Commission.
Just to make sure, so we have 5 positions open, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to
Yes.
recruit 2 more people.
Yes. One
We'll
is
have it when we
first.
do deliberations, we'll have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
I'll bring you up to speed.
Wondering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My name's John Pletz. Married 46 years, 10 kids, 10 grandkids, and a few great-grandkids. Business owner for 33 and a half years. We bought a ServiceMaster franchise. we had 3 full-time and varied 33 part-time, $865,000 a year when things were good. Then 08 hit, and that was interesting. So I've been incredibly involved with the Crystal Lake Chamber of Commerce. I was a chamber member for 30 years on many committees, board for 8, one of the vice chairs, ambassador for 13 years, started some committees. Carrie wrote Chamber of Commerce. I took a A to Z grant writing course last winter, and it was very convoluted. I don't think it was well put together. It was an online. It was 12 lessons, 12 weeks, and about halfway through I went. They seem like they're just justifying themselves, using a lot of grantees words and a lot of governmentese words, but I thought, I've already started, I'll finish it. And as soon as you put it out there, you've got a friend who wants you to get a grant for their book, and you got my daughter's school wants, she's Catholic school, wants you to, anyway, what I was working on was Gray Key for the state's attorney's office. And Gray Key is a program that gets into cell phones to look at criminal cases to see if they can find out what's going on. I wanted to do the police or the sheriff's department because I finished the Citizens Police Academy. Anyway, as far as this commission, I have the time. I have a lot of experience with dealing with people. I was in the Navy for 4 years, radar guy, combat information center, ran a 100,000 square foot third shift thing for Baxter Laboratories for a while. I was plant manager for a little electronics firm. Drove semi-dump truck for a while. I thought I was going to kill somebody. Scary job. And then I was ran a second shift for another electronics firm. And went to first shift, mechanic industrial engineer. Basically meant I set times and rates on jobs, and a safety coordinator. My dad, I have 2 dads, I love them both, was forced into police officer, was forced into early retirement. My other dad did sales and was forced into early retirement. I had been invited into a room with 28 other people around 1985 with a brand new baby, and there was 28 people, and they said, do not misunderstand, you are not being laid off, you're being terminated, go down to unemployment. Ladies were crying, and so I thought, it's time to do something different. That's why I went into this. So why I'm here today is I have the time, I would like to do this. I am a senior, I think I can understand that. I know financials I was on the finance committee for the Chamber of Commerce. So I think I've got a broad perspective of things that I can bring to the table. So I want to be a contributing member, but I also want to have fun and live within my means because I'm on Social Security. So that's pretty much it. I'd like to have some, I like this. I like the fact that you've delineated what you want, proposed annual outcome. Transportation, you've got a target of 1,600. So you've got it all laid out, so it's going to be easy to see if somebody meets that. I think that what I'm going to be looking for, and I hope that's what you're looking for, is sustainability. I think what Andy's looking for is maybe the sustainability, but also to kind of keep running. My personal perspective, from the little bit I understand about grants, is it should be something that's going to be new. It's going to have an effect, and what specifically the effect, you guys got numbers here, obviously that's going to be flexible. But I personally feel that we should focus on sustainability. Can they sustain it? Do they have the personnel to do, keep track of the finances? Do they have volunteers? Do they have enough hard cash? Do they have enough soft cash? Can they make this happen and keep it going? And any questions, please? Yes, ma'am.
I'm putting you on the spot, Jen. Did you go online and look at what the actual mission of the Senior Services Grant Program is?
Can I read it to you?
No, you can just tell me that you have it.
I have it. Well, I have it right here. I brought it with.
And I guess my comment is too, is you do understand the parameters that we deal within of utilizing those dollars, correct?
Help me understand what you're asking.
what I'm asking is, in your comments, you know, sustainability, new, the senior services grant program is very limited statutorily
About one.
on what it is
One
we can do with those funds.
Right.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that you understood that. I mean, it's not for a broad providing services. It's very limited in where those dollars
Right,
can
right.
be
I
spent.
think that became, I was very impressed that you have these target populations and target outcomes that you like. That, you know, that makes it pretty easy. You know what you can and can't do within the parameters. I have a question. So this is an awful lot of stuff. I don't think you can do it all on 1,600,000. So are you?
No, you cannot.
Right?
Yeah.
Correct.
No,
And it's
So-
been that way for over 10 years. You're absolutely correct, sir.
They haven't increased the levy in over 10 years, is what she's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the fact that we voted in is kind of cool. The citizens voted it in 03 or 13.
I do believe that there was an individual in this room that actually did robocalls at that time supporting that grant program.
Okay.
I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, I
No,
think I
you're
have an
right.
idea.
We are a unique county in recognizing the need, and I think that's, and it's wonderful that we continue to support it, but it is very limiting when you only have 1.6, and I will tell you, this year received over $2.5 million in grant requests, and we only have 1.6. So it's tough. It's very tough. So we're looking for people who can do exactly what you said, is look for sustainability and look at finances and make sure that we're utilizing those dollars to the best possible use that we can to provide those needs for our seniors. So I was pleased that you connected those dots.
I think we live in a unique county. We have Pioneer Center, Family Health Partnership, Home of the Sparrow. There's so many organizations that we have. And I think the Mental Health Board wasn't that, it was voted in by the folks in McHenry County as well, right? That,
To be able to establish one, yes, sir.
and my understanding is we have one of the only nursing homes that are government support, county supported in the state. There's maybe 5 and we have one of them.
I think there are about 10 left in the state of
In the whole
Illinois.
state.
Yeah. So we're very unique, very caring county. I'm sorry.
Ms.
Lee.
Wagner.
So you were talking about sustainability.
Yes.
Do you understand how a lot of these nonprofits and service organizations we have in our county fund themselves? So a lot of try to do their own fundraising and are successful at it, but they also try to obtain grants from the Senior Service Grant Commission, from the Mental Health Board. And when you're looking at all that money combined, that's a lot of how they're sustainable. So, and sometimes these grants that they ask for are for specific programs, but a lot of times it's just so they can keep going too and continue to serve the seniors that they do. So that's just something I wanted to tell you, but I just want to ask, what involvement have you had in nonprofits around the county?
Okay, I do have my hearing aids in. Say the last 2 sentences again.
What involvement in nonprofits have you had in McHenry County?
Actually, other than being aware of them through the chamber, I have not worked with any nonprofit other than maybe the food pantry. Yep.
Thank you.
Ms. Ness.
The data that we're looking at going forward tells us that the ability to meet the needs of our growing elder population, there's a cliff. We're gonna housing, medical, dental care, case management support, the Valley High bed, it's all part of the senior dilemma, which is just part of the dilemma for so many of the human resource services that we're looking at funding up. How would you, just in your imagination, look at this impending crisis in terms of allocating funds through you have a list of what we fund, which would be a priority for you to look at?
Well, first off, we are an aging population. This is going to be an escalating thing. I don't have an answer for that. Obviously, the easy answer for people making a decision that aren't going to be reelected is raise taxes. That's an easy answer. The hard answer for people who have to answer to people is you can't raise taxes. So do I have
would
an
you say
answer?
that again? That you,
Okay, so
you
if
can't raise taxes? Is that
if
what
you're an elected official,
Okay.
it would be difficult to raise taxes unless that was your swan song.
Well, that's all right.
No, I know it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay if you're
How do you
passionate.
feel about that?
How do I
Taxes?
feel about what?
Raising taxes to meet the needs of people.
I'm disinclined. I think that part of my understanding, limited understanding of grants is that it has to be sustainable. It's one thing to start something, it's another thing to keep it going. And that, I think, is incumbent upon the folks that are coming asking for the money. You have to have one hand out asking for the money, and the other hand, you have to have some hard cash, and you have to have volunteers, and you have to have resources, and I just look at this sustainability.
It is the work of government to care for the marginalized, the disenfranchised, and the poor. That is, when you can't get it through private enterprise in an equitable way, then we are the government. So it is my responsibility to care for people who don't have the resources, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
in their lives.
Right.
That's my job as government. We're all government. That's our job. We're charged with that, to serve the common good. If we don't raise taxes to meet the need of the people in our county, and they don't have access to financial private resources, how would you serve them without an increase in funding? Where would you get the non-governmental funding to serve them?
Let's go over here. Businesses get and lose customers. Businesses find ways to be more economical. So I think that's a pretty good model, and I think that folks that are providing services, there'll be some, great value in them finding ways to do more with less, if possible. As far as raising taxes, I don't think it's a popular thing. I don't think folks want to do that. Would I ever raise taxes? Very reluctantly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your responses.
Any other questions?
I have one question. What do you think your greatest strengths will be for this?
Probably my greatest strengths are the ones that I already have in my life, which is I'm very, very dependable. I'm honest. I care about people. One of the nice things that I liked about being an ambassador is that I could help people feel inclusive. I could bring them in and introduce them around. People basically want to be acknowledged, included, and loved. And I think that's going to be for anything that you're doing in life, whether it's services for folks. I have a son that lives in a nursing home in Chicago. He's schizophrenic, he's bipolar, he's violent, delusional, and he also has lost probably 10 points or more on his IQ. So I truly understand, and we truly appreciate the folks that are in that nursing home that don't make enough money. And it's always the struggle with needs and funds. And there is no gold standard, so to speak, on everything, so.
Thank you.
Ms. Alto?
Yeah, and John, just so you know, the Senior Services Grant Program, we only meet 5 times a year. So it really, from that perspective, I just want you to know, the meetings typically may be a little bit longer, but it's only really 5 times a year to review the grant application and make sure that we're doing it appropriately, then to review the requests and
So
then
who's
to
gonna
finally.
do all the work? Is somebody gonna bring us
Staff. We have support staff, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I was asked by the Chris Lake Park District to be on their decennial committee. You guys are probably aware of that, it's just justification. Anyway, and I have already spent a number of hours. I feel that we can get the townships and the park district to work together. I was over at the YMCA and talked with Katie over there. Just find ways to work together more effectively. For example, the townships seem to have more open space than they need. They don't tend to have folks that really want to use, I mean, they provide some, Algonquin Township provides park-like programs, but they still have open space. Other townships would love to get somebody to come and play peanut. So the Park District, from what I was told, true or not, I don't know, they could use extra space. So it's that, I would, probably do a whole lot more behind the scenes, because I'm already doing it for other things.
And well, again, it's not a new program as the celebration, for the Park District would be. This is an ongoing issue, more review and input, and then actually looking at the grant submittals as opposed to a whole lot. So staff has kind of run this for a long time.
Okay, so they check out
Yeah,
stats.
there's a whole process and procedure that goes through, and but that's why I'm telling you, it really is only, and they're close together. It's not spread throughout the year evenly. It is a process. We come in, this is what we're going to do. We have these dates, and we're done by this date. So it really is only 5 meetings.
Can you tell?
But that does not mean that there aren't places for you to get more involved in
Absolutely.
senior
Absolutely.
care.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Just being
and
clear.
I think it would serve commission members to be more involved in legislation and policy that affects seniors, and the area on aging and senior services. They always welcome people to, and then you bring that expertise and knowledge to the commission table with you, which has a very, and I'm making some assumptions because I'm not on that commission, but when I was on the CDBG commission, we have a pretty rigid structure that we follow and the way that things are allocated, so there's no intimation of, favor. I mean, you rank things, so it's very well organized, and all these have been tested, but what you bring from the outside into the conversation is very valuable, John. So
I concur.
that would be, I think, if you have the time and want to use it on behalf of seniors, that would be a wonderful way to
I'm
do it.
100% retired. Been kicking back, taking it easy for the last 3.5 years.
There you go.
Other than my hip does not love me, but I found some new medicine that helps with that. You touched on some. One of the values of sitting in a room. It said that when you sit with positive people, the conversation is different. I got to sit in a room with Bob Glazier and a whole lot of guys that are a whole lot smarter than me, and stuff would fall off their plate, and it just made me a better person. It made me aware of different things, heard things around town. So as far as I'm assuming that you folks, you do a lot, I see at the county board meetings, but you're also doing these subcommittees or committees. And so I'm going to assume that you have a limited amount of time. I have maybe more time than you, so maybe I can do more, I don't know. So that's just a thought.
Great. Well, thank you. We
Thank you.
certainly appreciate you coming in and interviewing and your interest in the Senior Service Grant Commission.
Is there anything else I can do before I go? Any other question before I leave?
We know how to find you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for your interest in stepping up. You're right, we are an aging population, and going around in all of these different groups, we see some of the same issues coming up all the time. Transportation is a big one, so housing, affordable workforce housing, all of those things. So thank you for stepping up.
Being on Social Security, when I meet somebody who's got 5 kids, I thank them. That's the way to get more taxes, I guess, is increase the pool. Thank you, folks. Take care.
Thank you. Welcome.
and maybe it's not a question. The Housing Authority, do they appoint a board member to this commission?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they do.
Mary Reed.
Mary Reed, and, okay, and does she have is there a term limit on that?
Yes, she's she's up for reappointment when those terms end, so within the next several months.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we get through the entire process of allocating those funds, and that's when the board members roll off. And again, I'll answer a lot of questions when we go into deliberations about what's going on there.
I was
So-
just curious.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
So you are applying for the not-for-profit
Correct, yes.
position with the Senior Service Grant Commission. So if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the commission.
Absolutely. So my name is Abbey Nicholas. I was born and raised in McHenry County, graduated from Crystal Lake South High School, and after high school got my bachelor's degree in social work from Marquette University and have a Master of Science in Management from the University of Notre Dame. I've spent the last 10 years working in nonprofit management in Milwaukee, so worked for a couple of nonprofits focusing on people with intellectual and developmental disabilities there. And my family and I moved back, yes, great. My family and I moved back to Crystal Lake at the end of 2020. And ever since then have been looking for an opportunity to get involved in the local community. So I just accepted a new role as the executive director of NAMI of McHenry County. So started that at beginning of July. And after talking with Leonetta Rizzi and the mental health board staff, they made me aware of the opening on the Senior Services Grant Commission and thought it would be a really great opportunity for me to get more involved in the county, learn more about agencies who I might not work directly with, but are doing really wonderful, important work. And then, of course, to use my skill set to further the work of the Senior Services Grant Commission and help fund really important projects in the community. So that is my interest, is to get more involved, meet more agencies, and then, of course, use my skill set to give back in the county.
And I'll just comment and let you know that Abbey obviously made her interest very well known because as we were looking on the Senior Services Grant Commission to find people to fill vacancies that have been vacancies for a very long time, Abby's name came up not once, not twice, but 3 times by 3 separate entities that recommended for a not-for-profit. And again, you remember, not-for-profit entities cannot receive any money from the Senior Services Grant, so we're limited to other organizations, and I thought it was remarkable that Abby's name came up so frequently when the commission members sought people to bring in. So I'm extraordinarily delighted that you decided to apply and you're forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you for saying that.
Really think it's a great fit. Personal
I do too.
comment. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Does anybody have any questions?
Have you attended any of the Senior Service Grant Commission meetings?
I have not yet, no. So I did a little bit of research to see, what the Senior Services Grant Commission was all about, right? The mission, of course, focusing on senior services, but really, since I just started my new role July 1st, I'm very much new and diving into the world of McHenry County and the organizations that the county serves here. So brand new, but looking forward to learning.
So I have a question. You might not be able to answer it. So as a McHenry native, being born and raised here and going away and coming back, what changes in our social system have you noticed since returning to McHenry? Like how it was, how it is now, and what you would like to see going forward?
Yeah, that is a really great question. I will say that it's very different growing up in the county as a youth, going to school here, and being aware of organizations. So I volunteered quite a bit with the food pantry, with Turning Point. I was someone who always knew I wanted to be in social service and in that nonprofit sector, so I tried to get involved early. So I'm familiar with agencies on a more micro level, but I'm not sure I can speak to the macro level of how agencies were working together. I will say, coming from Milwaukee, which had great experience, loved Milwaukee and the agencies I worked with, but then coming to McHenry County has been really a breath of fresh air. I was just talking with Carrie out there, just the collaboration that exists in McHenry County between agencies and providers, I think is really unique here and isn't something I experienced in Milwaukee. Again, not a bad thing. I think that's more the commonality is, you know, we're all kind of in our silo and we're all kind of competing for funding, so we work together as needed, but it's not that really open collaboration. So I know that didn't really directly answer your question, but I'm not sure.
No,
I
it did. Yeah, it did answer the question.
Okay, great.
Thank you very
Of course.
much. No more questions.
Okay, anybody else? Well, we certainly appreciate you coming in and your interest.
I'm really
Yes.
hopeful and excited for the opportunity to get involved. So thank you all for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank
I
you.
too have a background of working with people with intellectual disabilities in Lake County for like a total of 18 years.
Wow.
So
Such
yeah,
important work.
it is.
Yes.
It is. So thank you for
So
doing that
great.
and for stepping.
And of course,
forward.
so related to the work with senior citizens, you know, between mental health and disabilities, right? Not the funding overlap, but I think the need overlap is certainly there. So, well, thank you all so much.
Well, thank you for
Appreciate
taking that
it.
time.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I will let Carrie know, or actually, thanks again.
So can you ask Carrie to wait a minute, Scott?
Yes.
One second, just so you guys know, Suzanne Hoban, this is to replace her position. We actually literally went to Family Health Partnership as a not-for-profit that doesn't receive funds. We don't have many of them. So when Suzanne notified us that she was taking a sabbatical and she really wasn't going to be available in the county, we literally went to her board and to her staff and asked for a representative from Family Health Partnership. So I don't want you, and so we added it quickly. Thank you very much for your consideration to add her on here. But we have a deficit on that commission, and so Carrie really is applying because we sought her to be here
Yeah.
today. I just wanted you all to know
Yeah.
that in the background.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Tough spot to fill.
Come on down.
We'll have that discussion.
I don't have my hearing aids in, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll talk longer.
No, that's all right. I could read lips.
What?
Where's the microphone? Good mess.
Hi, good morning.
We're high tech.
Thank you for joining us. So if you could take a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the Senior Service Grant Commission.
Sure. My name is Carrie Holtz. I have lived here since I was 11 in the county. Live in McHenry, still live in McHenry, graduated from McHenry schools, went to MCC. When I was at MCC, I got a job with United Way, working as a bookkeeping assistant, where I worked for 3 years. And then I got my CPA, and I worked at a accounting firm in McHenry for 8 years until I had my son. And now I've been doing, I started off as side jobs in accounting, just kind of dabbling. My husband's a police officer, so he kind of rules the schedule, and so I was the flexible one with the nonprofit accounting jobs here and there. But of course, they grew to now 5. I work for Family Health Partnership as my main job. I'm the finance manager there. I've been there for 6 years. I should say too, after I had my son, I did go back to United Way for 6 years, and I've been with the clinic now. So I was on the funding side, and now I'm on the direct service side, which is just a whole different use of your brain, looking at the same numbers, but you're kind of presenting in a different way. So I have 4 other little side jobs, of which 2 I am transitioning out of, so it kind of opens up some time in my schedule for something like this. I was on leadership Greater McHenry County. I graduated in 2022, so one of the missions is to kind of give back to your community, and this would be a different sort of position that I could sit in, where I could give back what I have, the knowledge I have from my accounting experience, and to really see the needs of the community from the senior side. I've lost both of my parents, and I really wish they were utilizing what we have in the community, but you can't force that on somebody. So to sit here and to read these applications and to see the need of the community and these seniors that are loving it and really embracing it, it kind of makes me happy that we have those services
And I just wanted to, Carrie actually sat in on the last meeting that we had where we reviewed all the letters of intent. So
Sure.
again, thank you, yeah,
I
please.
did, yes, I did, I haven't read the applications, of course, because they're not in, but I do look at applications on my side, and I think I just have such a heart for the senior side. Also, LGMC really talked about the older population and the trends in the community, of which you guys see as well. So we really have to prepare ourselves for that. And my age group is called the sandwich generation. You're taking care of the youngers and you're taking care of the olders. We really have to do a better job in the community and put those dollars to use in the best way possible. So whatever I could do if I were asked to join the commission, I would really try to embrace that and put the money to where it belongs.
Okay.
That's a synopsis.
Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just so excited.
Yes, we're all very excited and appreciate you coming in and applying.
And knowing what the process is and
I-
following the
yeah.
process. So we thank you very much.
Oh, I appreciate the process. When I came to the meeting last week, I was like, oh, this is interesting to see. And we applied for ARPA funding, so I sat in on some of these meetings too. Definitely intimidating from an accounting perspective, when you're kind of in the back room. But it's time to step up and kind of express my desires about where the money's most needed. So,
Absolutely, thank you.
thank you.
Where do you think the money is most needed? I mean, when you look at the senior population, what is the most critical area?
I don't know. So like when I worked for United Way, so much of it was towards like it would, just what would you call it? Family alliances, like day programs and stuff like that. And now there's just so much. Let's see what we can do with keeping those seniors in their homes, the older population in their homes, and how do we do that? And what is the expense of that? And how can agencies find the best way? So I feel like, and then you drive around or you get in the mail all the time, all of these new retirement communities and all the services that they're offering on site. For pay though, right? These people are paying a lot of money to live in those places. What can we do for the people that didn't prepare as much for their retirement and don't have that? What can the community do to give back from an agency like Senior Services, Senior Care, Volunteer Network, something like that? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I feel like the old way was much different than how we're presenting to our seniors now, right?
You touched on it. One big issue is supporting seniors so that they can stay in their home if they're able to.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing because once they have to go to a nursing home or some other kind of long-term care facility, they lose a lot of their independence. So and it diminishes the quality of their life.
And when I think about it, when I was 18 and I was looking at the books for United Way, we gave it was called Family Care of Illinois, and we gave them like $5,000 for homemaker services, right? $5,000 out of a $1.5 million budget. Like it was nothing, but I think they were funding okay. But but how much more it really has to be put towards seniors is a lot more than $5,000.
Right.
So let's do that, and let's see how we can build up those services. And then when the trends change, we'll change with them too, right? I think that's all about accounting, is following the trends.
Thank you. Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
again
you.
for coming in. You're more than welcome to stick around
Okay.
while we deliberate, or we will be in touch also.
I think I will.
We certainly appreciate
Okay.
you coming in.
Thanks.
We're going to change that.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this. There's five open spots with some dates attached. So, our deliberation is up to 5 applicants for the recommendation to the county chair for the Senior Service Grant Commission. 1 position for nonprofit with a term to begin September 30th, 2023 and expire September 30th, 2026. 1 position for nonprofit with a term to begin October 1st, 2020 and expire October 23. And another position for a nonprofit agency for the term to begin October 2021 and expire October of 2024. And 2 positions for citizens at large, both that with terms to begin October 1st, 2023 and expire October 1st, 2026.
So can I talk real quickly, just so you guys understand what's happening? For the last 3 years, we Senior Services Grant Commission never really had a quorum. When Tracy was kind enough to ask me to chair this, we had a very serious sit-down about commitment. And what we did is we kind of cleaned the roles. People who could not commit to attend, you have to attend every meeting because you lose the continuity of being able. So we went to people and said, things may have changed in your life, things may have, I mean, it wasn't a criticism, it was just, if you can't do this, move on and we'll find somebody who kind of can't, which is one of the reasons why you're seeing some of these massive vacancies. In addition, we then learned that Paula, who also served on the commission, was moving, and then we learned that Suzanne was also going to take a sabbatical. Obviously, circumstances in her life has changed too, but we knew she wasn't going to be here for the ending meeting. So we were looking for someone who had that kind of continuity. So that's why you see so many of these things. And if you'll remember, that's why this committee approved the bylaws. One of the very first things we did is because there was never a quorum to approve the bylaws to the commission. So we did that. And we've kind of done things differently, I want you to understand. So after we do our letter of intent, even today, I'm spending the entire afternoon meeting with people who did not make that cutoff to talk about why not and what they can do moving forward to change those opportunities, which is what we did on United Way. You know, you have those conversations, you bring those people in, tell them not to be dissatisfied, re-up again, and let's figure out where you've not made the rationalization that we needed for your grants to be considered. Once those grants are also awarded, Hans and Bianca track those grants and ensure that every one of those agencies that receive those dollars are spending them, and that they're on track to get those reimbursements. So it's a little bit more of a hands-on approach to all of these. And then there again, too, is some discussion about where we're going to go. It's been 1.6 for 10 years. So what we've made, and obviously over 10 years the expenses went up. We had massive inflation. So that money is not going as far as it once did. So all of these people who applied today, I want you to understand that they kind of get that. We'll do an orientation, we'll explain, we'll do all of those things. So it's a little bit of a different full-on approach, and probably all commissions need to have a little bit of that fresh air blown on them periodically. So just give you a little bit.
If I'm reading this 5.4 correctly, you still have 2 open positions?
Yes, we do.
And
we are actively seeking individuals.
Okay.
It's not, we're not waiting for people to come forward.
Okay.
We are making phone calls to our partners and asking if they can provide us with some people who want to do that.
And are those 2 at large?
No, well, no, not if we recommend John to move forward, because he would be one of those.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed with the caliber of
Extreme.
applicants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Delighted.
Mike has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
If we have 3 applicants, we have 5 positions. If it's okay, I'd like to move forward with the motion. Let's start with I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the county board chairman the appointment of John Pletz as a citizen at large for the term starting October 1st, 2023, and expiring on October 1st, 2026.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Ms. Holtz. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Seeing none, motion carries. Mr. Shorten, would you like to?
I have a question / discussion, because we have, the way that I see it from a nonprofit standpoint, we have 2 terms. The first one's kind of odd, maybe not. So first one is September 30th, 2023 through September 30th, 2026. And then there's one October 1, 2021 to October 1, 2024. Both of those are in the nonprofit category. Certainly, either Abbey Nichols or Carrie Holtz, if they're slotted into one of those two positions, one of them's going to have to come back and reapply next year, which is fine. The other thought that I have is we have, assuming Mr. Pletz is appointed, we have one other citizen at large, which is a full term. Is there any challenge or difficulty with saying, and this is just for discussion, we appoint Abbey to the September 30th, 2023 through 26 position, and then Carrie to the citizen at large position that runs from 23 to 26.
I know you want to do that to me, the terms, but we have such a difficult time finding people from not-for-profits,
Okay.
and the bylaws specify that. I want to keep Carrie on there, and I would certainly hope that if Carrie is taking the term that's shorter, because that's really Suzanne's,
Yeah.
we will do what we've talked about doing, which is trying to keep people on minimally 2 terms. And then reevaluating where the whole group is, whatever that body is, and make sure that we've got all of those specifics handled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want people to stay on for a lifetime term.
Sure.
But you want people to take the experience that they've learned and apply that, and then teach new people who are coming on. So, I would hope that if we're going to put Carrie on for a shorter period of time, obviously when she comes back, those of us who are here for longer periods of time will recognize that and certainly vote for that.
Okay. Then, that said, is it okay if I combine the motion for both individuals?
I don't think it matters. If there's
Even though they
consensus, it
don't
doesn't
matter?
matter, yeah.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to
Kathy,
recommend.
did you want to say something?
I just
The
wanted
dates
to
are-
clarify
yeah.
that Suzanne's term is expiring September 30th of 2023. So that's not the short.
Oh, so that's not hers, okay.
The short term is the October 1st, 2020 through October 1st, 2023, which has just been a vacant position.
Okay.
So that's just been sitting here vacant. I don't even have a name attached to it. Suzanne's is expiring September 30th.
So I misspoke, thank you.
But we don't have to appoint Karen to that one. We
No,
appoint
you
Karen
can point her
that
to the one, that's what she's here for, yeah.
So make sure I'm going to state this correctly. So I'm looking to slot Carrie into the October 2021 through October 2024, and then Abbey into the September 30th, 2023 through September 30th, 2026.
Correct.
Okay. If you need me to state the full motion, I can. Otherwise, if you'll take it.
Kathy, do you have it?
Maybe we should let Kathy state it.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Ms. Altoff. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Great, motion carries. Welcome. We
Yay.
certainly do appreciate you.
Yay.
You applying and
And
your
I
service.
will be in touch and we'll talk a little bit, but if you guys want to come to that last meeting to just watch what's going on, we'll invite you to that too, okay? Cool.
And just for clarification also, the McHenry County Council of Governments Representative Ryan Goldman's term is up September
Right.
23. And I've talked to Bianca about reaching out to them and having them send me a letter reappointing her.
And we did that, just so you know.
Perfect.
We had that conversation at the meeting, and they're not only informing Rhonda, they're also informing McHenry County Council of Governments, and that'll be their appointment. Yeah, and we've got that all straightened out with the
Thank you.
supervisors too now, too.
Okay.
Township supervisor.
Okay, so moving on to the routine consent agenda. Is there anybody who'd like any items removed for discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the routine consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, could I get a roll call, please?
Who was the second?
Sorry, Miss, yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Altoff,
Yes.
Shorten,
Yes.
Ness,
Yes.
Van Hoff,
Yes.
Von Bergen.
Yes. Okay, so now we're moving on to old business. Seeing none, have nothing in presentation. presentations, so we'll move on to reports and the workforce housing.
It was a great meeting. We had our first presentation by the McHenry project. Richard came. It was eye-opening for members of the commission to see the challenges in front of us to produce workforce housing. He's very knowledgeable, the commission asked great questions. We did set the agenda calendar for the next several months, so we'll be hearing from Kim Albrecht about land trust and Eric.
No, was it Jeff? Is it Settler? Is it Eric?
Eric
Yeah,
Settler?
Eric. Then after that, we have a meeting with municipalities, and then after that, businesses. I thought it was very informative.
I think what was enlightening is that we clarified what our definition of workforce housing is going to be, so that will be the part of the narrative. And the other part was the explanation of lasagna funding. And I find that when Carrie was talking earlier about how we hobble, funds from government, that's exactly what this is too. There's not a lot of interest from individual private investors because the return on your money is like, so there's better opportunities. So what developers who really are motivated to provide this type of funding do is they hobble grants from local, state, federal, and all different programs so that they have enough to take away the cost of the mortgage, the things that are standard. They try and take that away so that they actually can provide the housing. It was abundantly interesting and really allowed us to clarify where we want to go and what we want to do. And I hope for the same opportunities with some of our other presenters.
It was
really
very
great.
clear that we cannot do workforce housing without government-funded support. Because a bank will not ever look at the kind of risk involved in some of these. And Richard said if he found a site today, it would be 3 years before they started building. It takes that long to build a portfolio and engage everybody in. And he talked about how McHenry fought for that development. The city of McHenry wanted that development. And what I was really surprised was it's going to house families. It's going to house families, and that rarely happens.
And one of the things, I'm going to let Scott jump into, but one of the things that we did learn is what the county can do is very similar to what we do with other, shared services, is potentially educate our municipalities, find which municipalities are more open to this type of development, which ones are closer to transportation, and then find those sites. And how do we then work together to elevate that to a level where we're going to attract funding so that they can be able to move forward. But
I think your report was well said. I really have nothing further to contribute.
Well, I think what we do want to say, which we said after you had to leave,
to depart.
This is a long game. At the end of this year, we'll issue recommendations, policy, the way that the state and the county and the feds can help navigate. This is the long game. There's no quick answer. And Pam had to leave, but there was a point. So Richard said, the units in McHenry will cost, by the time they're done, $500,000 a piece. And you could fill the room. People literally sat back in their chair, and I said, this is where the conversation always stops. And so we stay the course. We know that. And even when they talked about, well, what if you removed this and what if you did this? He said, even if you got it down to $250,000 a unit, it would not be affordable.
And so people who work here.
That was important for us to hear, because that's what we're up against. And we won't be deterred. We will continue to move forward. But it did sort of shape. We then, after talking to Richard, decided to invite Kim Albert from the Housing Authority and Eric to the table. They seemed like the next logical people in our process. So, you know, by the time we get through this agenda, we'll be halfway through this commission, which is like, wow. We do have a meeting with DuPage County next week on the books.
And Kane's coming, I've made that contact.
Oh,
So
great.
we'll get a date for that too.
So we are looking regionally, what are people doing regionally? We don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's a wheel out there and it's rolling, we want to duplicate it. But I want to thank you again, Chairwoman, because this is a great commission, and they seriously feel like they have a monumental charge in front of them. And I really appreciate that. It's great to be in the room with them.
I just want to make a suggestion. I think it might be helpful for you to attend or speak at the Workforce Network meeting, because they have all different, you have the schools and the businesses and the unions. And
Okay.
And
Well,
I brought
wait.
that up at one point. I said, in one of my first meetings, I said, you know, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, huh? So.
Well, they're on the task force. They're
Jake
working
and Jeff
for-
are on the task
Workforce,
force.
yeah, they're very much
And-
present in
and
providing us data. I mean,
They just
They do have a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
So
very
just-
helpful
But I
when
would say
we,
even just to get opinions from different companies and.
yeah.
You know, actually, on that, we provided a strategic plan update to the Workforce Network Board, and one of the areas we focused in on is this new addition, which is the workforce housing. And the whole room, the whole board resonated with that, because that's something, in fact, I had members come up to me afterwards saying, you know, that is an issue. They're feeling it with their own employees. So to your point, maybe as we get further along, that's something we can talk about as far as doing a presentation to them, because it hits home with our Workforce Network Board, who are the employers.
And I'm just real sensitive overall, Kelly. I want the board to know before we go out and start doing it to other people. I don't want us to get outside our lane.
Well, and the other-
when we
tomorrow,
present it
but
to the full board and they know what we're doing, then we can take the show on the road, but.
Well, and the other thing we really had to get to, it was harder than you'd think, was to come up with a definition everybody agreed with. Because there are multiple definitions about what workforce housing is out there. And it is not subsidized housing. It is Section 8, but it doesn't fit under our mission. That's like in addition to. And so it's taken us a couple of months to really determine, when we talk about workforce, we are talking about this. And I agree with Pam, we want to give it to the county board, our members first, so they can ask questions and.
Or revisions or,
Yeah.
whatever, but yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And the other thing that we're encouraging people, which has been a challenge but great, we have been doing some of the same stuff and having the same conversations for 30 years, and we're like, we don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
So let's have a new conversation and really cast our net wide on what other people are doing across the country. So, yeah, I think and I just want to thank you for supporting this, Tracy.
You guys are doing great things. I mean, it's a huge.
I think it's going to be remarkable by the time we get done.
I agree.
Great. Well, thank you for the updates. I appreciate it. So beyond workforce housing, are there any other future topics that anybody feels should be?
I do want to give you guys an update. We're going to look at those senior service grant applications in September, so maybe in October, depending on the timing. I'd like to give you guys an update on where we are and what happened and who got what, and so you're all aware.
I would be interested in understanding how you're going to target, based on some of the new data around seniors and what's
There's a
happening.
whole new, we've created,
Right.
that's what I want to do, I'll bring Hans in.
Right.
We've done a whole metric about where the breakdown is, population demographics, the mission of where that money is supposed to be spent, and then targets over the next 5 years of how many people we want to serve, and how do all of those grant proposals meet those metrics. And then we're going to go forward. You guys don't know, but that was my big legislation after 6 years, was budgeting for results, and everything is on a metric and you all evaluate. I'm all into that, because you can go to the public and say, here, look at what we have done. Look where we're failing. Look, all of those things. So we've kind of recalibrated what the commission is doing and how we're looking at it. And I will tell you, for the first time in I think 4 years, 5 years, we literally did not move every application forward to be considered for the grant, to apply for a grant. And we're meeting with them today, and I'm going to explain why and what the purpose was. When you only have $1.6 million, I don't want people to take the time to apply when we know we're going to say no.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So I will go through when we're done on how that happened, and I'll bring Hans in to tell you how we did that metricing and how we got the number we're trying to target.
I think the idea of giving a little bit to everybody is just not effective. It's not efficient.
Right.
You can't get any traction that way. And so, I think CDBG is a perfect example of prioritizing.
We used a lot of that as a template.
Coming
Well,
up
I'm not
to-
gonna, this wasn't new idea. We used the template that we had
And
used
it's
before.
hard.
It's
I
just
get-
educating people, that's all.
Well, and I get that it's difficult, to make those calls, but I think with limited resources, you look at the greatest need. With limited resources, you look at the greatest need.
Or unique. The other part
Yeah.
was somebody who does something that nobody else does.
Yeah.
And some of those, we also asked many of the applicants to note on their letters of intent, do they use that money for matching for other grants? That's important for us to know. And they hadn't been doing that. We need to know that.
Yeah.
If this gives you more money or access to more money, that's a priority, right? So we asked for that this time.
And I would also, I have been talking to a couple of the nonprofits, and I know they invited Senior Service Grant Commission to come visit. I think I would like that to have opened up to maybe even at least this committee, if not the county board. I think it's important that we see where our money goes. Unfortunately, it sounds like there were only 1 or 2 people that were able to visit the sites. So I think if we could, as at least as our committee, because we're responsible for that, but the county board ultimately, just go visit and see where our money's going.
I think you did, I think Teresa did, I did. I don't know who else did, but yeah.
I just, and they like to show off what they're doing.
But we wouldn't, and I'll be very careful, we didn't let anybody who we went and saw or met with talk about anything that they were applying for. I cut that conversation off.
Oh, yeah.
Just so you know,
It's
so it's
not
on record.
It's not a commercial, it's not
Right,
a lobby.
exactly. I said it's an
just-
opportunity
this
for you
is
to
what we
advocate
do.
for yourself. We're not
Yes.
doing that.
Yeah.
But the conversation remained very, 3,000 feet in the air and very general.
Great, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing no executive session, do I have a motion for adjournment? Ms.
Second.
Wagner, seconded by Ms. Holtz.